Good morning, everybody. Good morning, the universe. So let's begin with some direction for our meditation with the refuge and the four immiserables. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. May all beings find happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause for happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness and the cause for happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Please come and join us. Make yourself at home. You don't want a little cushion for your feet? You're good. Okay. So we're all here and happy and we're sitting. So let's be aware of that. Let's take a moment just to make sure we're here. Sure, we had a lot to do before we came here. Let it fade away. We might have a lot of things to do in the future. Leave it on hold for now and just appreciate this moment that you have offered yourself, this moment of openness and freedom and sort of a date with your mind. As we sit, simply sit with no particular intention in mind, We notice the way we are sitting. We notice the contact with the ground, whether we sit on a chair or directly on the floor. We notice the stability we gain from this contact. We appreciate it. Our hands might be resting palms down, flat on the thigh, or in a meditation gesture. That is the right hand in the left and both resting in the lap. Our back is straight, which is the most important element of this posture, but not stiff, like the trunk of a large tree, moving with the wind if needed. Shoulders are slightly outstretched to make sure that our back is not caving. And our belly becomes more and more relaxed and feels like it's dropping. And we begin to sense where is the center of gravity of our body. That is slightly below the navel. The chin is slightly tucked in, but the neck remains free. The mouth is relaxed, maybe in a half smile, and the tongue is lightly touching the palate. Our gaze is directed straight ahead, slightly downward, eyes half closed, in a soft and open vision of what is directly in front of us. We see everything, but we're not staring at anything in particular. If we find it more comfortable, we can also keep our eyes closed. Breath comes and goes mostly through the nostrils. We don't need to modify, we just notice the movement of the breath. Breath will be very helpful when we are distracted and we are drifting away following trains of thoughts, because it offers us a point towards which we can come back. We notice we're drifting, we disengage, we come back to the breath and we follow the movement of the breath for a while. Thoughts and sense perceptions will occur, of course. Like we just had the woodpecker looking for worms in the walls of the meditation hall. We notice it. We don't build on it. We don't follow it. We don't qualify it. We just let it be and we notice it. But not, of course, sometimes we are carried away. And as soon as we notice that we have been carried away, we simply disengage, we let go. And maybe for a while we come back to the movement of the breath until we find the stability, the openness, and attentiveness that we have lost for a moment. And there we abide. Feel free to stretch or move a bit if you need. Today, I wanted to talk about one of the point in the path to awakening, one of the advice that I given in this 7th chapter. And a specific point here, maybe I will move on 2 points because they're connected. The first point is, how do we make sure we are still on the Bodhi path? The path to awakening, Bodhi path. How to make sure? There's 2 points that we need really to keep alive. We need to cultivate. We need to recollect. And these 2 points are the commitments. First, the commitments in threefold commitments to the path, and then the twofold commitments to the enlightened mind attitude, bodhicitta. So what really makes us a Bodhi path traveler is the fact that we keep in mind alive the intention to proceed toward full and complete enlightenment for the benefit of everyone. So the commitment, the vow, we could say, that we have pronounced at some point as we enter the path, what we call the refuge vow, the vow of commitment to the path, is first and foremost towards the Buddha. But Buddha, more than the teacher, Buddha is the enlightened state. So we really decide that from this moment on, everything that I will deal with, whatever happens in my life, will become an opportunity to consolidate my efforts towards this objective. So we set Buddha, the enlightened state, as a goal, and we stick to that. Sometimes, when things are not easy, we like to cut a deal, so like, okay, the bar is too high for me today, so what about, cutting a deal? It's a slippery slope. You know where it begins, you never know where it ends. And so better not to go that way. And says, okay, maybe it's high standard, maybe I will sweat a bit, but I'm going to stick to this project. I'm going to stick to this commitment of consolidating everything that my life offers towards the obtention of Buddha, the awakened state. So that's the first commitment. The second aspect of this refuge connected commitments is the reliance upon the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, the instructions, the guidance that we can receive through text or through personal contacts with a member of the Sangha. And so the second commitment is stick to the values of Dharma. The values of Dharma are very simple. Never harm, always help. And in order not to harm and to help, you need to know yourself. So you need discernment and you need benevolence. That's the short deal. After that, you can elaborate. Of course, there's 84,000 dharmas to talk about this. But sometimes, how we are. Like when it gets too sophisticated, we find a loophole and then we hide there. So just always come back to the basic deal. Very honestly. And of course, there's a lot of mishaps, very honestly, never harm, always help. And try to deepen my discernment, my wisdom, and expand my compassion to the limit of the sky. no discrimination, everybody's welcome. So that's the second commitment. The third commitment is the vow to really listen and pay attention to the advice I'm given coming from the friends of the Sangha. And here I mean more spatially the spiritual friends. That means there's men and women who have some experience, who know about the Dharma, and not only know about it, but have personal experience. They are good advisors. And then sometimes, like a little stubborn kid, we're kind of like, me do. I don't want to hear. I'm going to do it myself, And sometimes it works. Most of the time it doesn't. And like kids, at some point, they always come back and says like, can you help me making it? So the Sangha is not going to sort of like enlighten you in the sense that they're not going to make the work for you, but they're going to be very reliable companions and friends. And so pay attention to what they have to say. It's a very basic commitment. It's a commitment of respect, because if we have respect, then we can listen. If we can listen, we may benefit. So it begins with respect. If you don't have respect, then you don't have confidence. So even a Buddha can tell you the secret of the universe. You say like, I got a better way. I can do it my own way. So it starts with respect. So even when time gets tough, it's very important to stick to this threefold commitment of, commitment for refuge, for awakening, especially when times get tough. Because when times get tough, everybody falls back and try to find a way to survive and to go through it and so on and so forth. That's not the time where we want to be like, well, let's explore the possibilities, as we just want to survive. So even when the times get tough, the text says, even at the cost of your own life. That's kind of a pretty extreme, but that's the idea. Even when the times get tough. And then sometimes when the times are too smooth, then we can forget it. Like, why would I walk towards enlightenment where I'm already in heaven? So just keep it awake. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is the twofold commitments related to bodhicitta, enlightenment, or what I like, Dogen calls it the way-seeking mind. A mind that is seeking a way towards enlightenment. So the twofold commitment is first, cultivate the wish. It's not too much. You can do it. The wish to be of help, the wish to reach enlightenment, to be ultimately and absolutely and completely without any form of hindrance, of help for everyone. And that implies you, and then in the process of being of help for others, then you find your own freedom. And so that's being of help for yourself. So first the wish. And when the wish is strong, then you can put feet to your prayers. You can put hands to your prayer. You implement the wish. That's the second aspect. That's the, I call it the vantage bodhicitta. So you adventure yourself on the path of the 6 parameters, and you're going to work with this. And again, through thick and thin, sometimes it's not easy to be generous. Sometimes it's not easy to be patient, and so on and so forth. But I have the wish to do it, and I'll not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. That's the idea. So if you keep these two aspects, the commitments towards the goal and the commitment of bodhicitta, you're pretty sure to stay on track on the bodhi path. Of course, we all drift. We're drifters. We know that, but we somehow come back, because there is this carefulness, conscientiousness, that is one of the main qualities that we develop through our practice that brings us back when we lose track. So that's the first point. And it's important because all the rest, let's say, of the book here, like the Path to Awakening, wouldn't make sense if we wouldn't have these two commitments alive in the stream of our consciousness. So they're extremely important because they are the foundation. All the rest comes from that. Cultivating relative bodhicitta, absolute bodhicitta, transforming adversity into the path of bodhi. All of this springs from the first basic two commitments. And so if we don't make sure every day to keep them alive, the rest can be some sort of superstitious activity, but wouldn't be connected with the core commitments of bodhicitta and refuge in the direction or seeking the way towards enlightenment. Okay, so that was first thing. We should keep it alive. And that's why, every day it's good when you wake up to say, okay, make sure that these two commitments, these twofold commitments are present in your life. You can have an elaborate way of making it, reciting, what we do, this, just the 4 lines of the refuge, I'm until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and through generosity and other qualities, I will work to achieve this and be of benefit for everyone. And the tradition of bodhicitta, we say we should keep this vow and make it 6 times during the day and 6 times during the night. It means like very repeatedly, every 2 hours. Every 2 hours, put an alarm for the middle of the night. No, just kidding. But, it has to be that present and that alive. Okay. So once we have this as our basis, our foundation, our driving force, we're well equipped. And then we have to work with difficult things. We shouldn't be sort of like afraid of confrontation with difficult things. And so there's 3 points that need really our attention because they are difficult. And the first one is to notice when our mind is under the influence of neurosis or kleshas, mental affliction. Be aware of that. Keep an eye on your mind. So the first thing, it's difficult to notice that you're under the influence of neurosis because you always blame other, like, yeah, okay, I did it, but you made me do it, or you can even justify, and say like, well, this is not so bad. So that's very difficult to notice them. Then the second thing that is difficult to deal with is to overcome them. Because you may notice them, but you don't have the strength to struggle with them and, tame them and overcome them. So that's the difficult point. And then the third point that is difficult is to cut through them. Because they're not just like one moment eruption. They're coming again and again and again. And we may have the strength to overcome them at once, but when they come again and again and again, like we are just exhausted, we're disheartened, we don't trust our capacity to overcome them, and we may give up. So these are the 3 difficult points that we'll have to address. Notice the neurosis, overcome them, cut through them. The repetition, cut through that. So this is the 3 things that we have to work with. So how do we do that? Because it's one thing to know, but it's better to know what to do with them, right? And so 3 actions. First one is cultivate a form of reflexive awareness. That is the capacity that mind develops to look at itself. Very often we look outwardly. We're really good at telling everybody else's problems, but we're not so good at looking inside and being objectively reporting or assessing what is. Sometimes we exaggerate, and then we beat ourselves up for being so bad, which is a nice try to cover up the problem and not do something about it. Because, see, I'm punishing myself. You can't punish me more. But in the meanwhile, you're not addressing the problem. You're just punishing yourself. Okay? So to be able to look at oneself very honestly and say, okay, check up. This, needs to be changed. This needs to be modified, transformed, whatnot. So the first point is notice when your mind is under the power or the influence of neurosis or klesha, and be honest about it. Don't over dramatize. Just very, very objectively looking at it. So that would be the first thing we can do. And it's hard. That's I give it to you. That's not easy. But anyway, there's no other way. If we want to keep on the Bodhi path, we have to do that. Second point, overcome them. It's one thing to notice them, but it's another thing to overcome them. And overcome them can be done in 3 different ways. The first one is, I call it the Nancy Reagan strategy. Just say no. Okay? I mean, it's an old reference, but just say no. Like you feel you're angry and you're just like, I'm not going to go there. Or you feel like desire for whatever person or object, like I'm not going to go there. So it's just like damage control. That's the first strategy. It works. If you really put your heart into it, it's not ultimate, but it works. Second, that's actually one of the main thing in this book, The Path to Awakening. Transform it, transmute it. All the neuroses are based on an overinflation of the self. And the desire to be extraordinary and different, and so on and so forth. Develop ultimate bodhicitta and meditate on the identitylessness of the self, so that you deflate the basis for neurosis to arise by really considering in its right dimension what self is. And then cultivate relative bodhicitta, cultivating loving kindness and so on, mostly cultivating gratitude and love for all beings, and apply the remedies, the remedies that are given in this text, for example, in transforming adversity into the path of awakening. Mostly we say 3 objects, 3 poisons, 3 opportunities of awakening. By practicing sending and taking Tonglen, we can transmute the neurosis into the wisdom and the compassion of the Bodhi. So that would be the second way of controlling them or overcoming them. And the third way that we can use, and you can find the description of it in the 6th chapter of Boundless Wisdom, it's recognizing its true nature. With the practice of shamatha, you come to the point where you are able to look at mind. With the practice of vipassana, common vipassana will lead you to mahamudra vipassana. And all of this is described in this chapter, 6th chapter of 5th and 6th chapter of Boundless Wisdom. Looking directly into the essence of the klesha when it arises. You come to see its essence of emptiness. You come to see that it is the luminosity of mind that appears through different causes and conditions and manifests, yet it is empty in essence. And then when you uproot the negativity at the heart by realizing the true nature of emptiness, then this poison becomes a nectar. That's how you overcome neurosis, by the use or with the use of vipassana. Not the first in your help kit. Nancy is good to start with. Okay, and then sending and taking is, really reliable. But I really invite you to deepen ultimate bodhicitta of Mahamudra, so that at some point, thanks to your experience, you can not even uproot the kleshas, but see them in their true dimension. and therefore find liberation. Okay. And thirdly, the third difficult point and what to do with it, which is to cut through. Cut through is only possible. I mean, cut through means the recurrence of these neurotic states. Cut through is only possible with the three qualities of mindfulness, attentiveness, and conscientiousness. So mindfulness is you remember what you want to do. That is, you want to see them arising and you want to overcome them. You keep that. That's the mindfulness. Attentiveness is being present to this moment and see what exactly is happening. And conscientiousness is to be thorough in the treatment of these neuroses. That means to fully apply whatever methods will be the most handy and thoroughly apply it. Damage control, transmutation, recognizing the nature, whatever method you use, do it thoroughly. Don't skip a bit. Because sometimes we sort of like, like what I do often is kind of like superficial cleaning, and as yesterday I was mentioning that my mom always said, for you, the corners have to come to the broom. It's the broom that should go to the corners. So if the corners don't come to the broom, they're not going to be cleaned. Okay. So that's consciousness. Like work thoroughly with each thing and don't give up until you really have gained a certainty and a stability and a transformation. So that makes us 6 categories. We have 3 hard point or difficult point to work with, to see them, to control them or overcome them, and then to cut through them. And then we do it through the different methods that we've been given. And so that's actually implementing the path or the instructions we have received, working with what life brings us and turning it into an opportunity for awakening. Okay? But as it all starts with mindfulness and attentiveness and consciousness, let's go back to our meditation. Through this merit, may I attain true omniscience. Then, having overcome all harmful, destructive forces, may I liberate sentient beings from the ocean of existence and its turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May the most precious mind of awakening that has not yet dawned now rise. Once arisen, may it never decline. May it continue to increase evermore. Thank you all very much. Thank you, the universe. Be well. See you next week.